Well, good afternoon, everyone. We're ready to get started with our activities for the day. If you want to step on up so you can maybe hear a little better. I want to welcome you all to the groundbreaking for the Ben Reifel Middle School. I'm Betty Oldenkamp. I'm the CEO for Lutheran Social Services, but I serve on the Sioux Falls Development Foundation. So I am here today on behalf of the foundation. The Development Foundation is the organization that really is responsible for hosting the groundbreakings that demonstrate the growth of our great community. So really pleased to have all of you here today. I'm the Master of Ceremonies, so I get the honor of introducing several folks to share some comments with you. I just think this is tremendous that we are breaking ground on yet another school. There's nothing more important in a community than to make sure that all children are educated. So I am really honored to be able to be part of this ceremony today, to be part of breaking ground here. I think we all know how important our schools are to the success of our community and to the success of each and every one of us that lives here. So let's get on with the ceremony. So first of all, I would like to introduce to you Tim Sturdivant, who is the chair of the Sioux Falls Area Chamber of Commerce. Tim.
Thank you, Betty, and thank you all for coming out today for this tremendous event here and the groundbreaking of Ben Reifel Middle School. Many of the family members are here. We thank you for coming. The Chamber of Commerce mission is to improve the quality of life here in Sioux Falls for not only its residents but also the businesses, and there's no better way to do that than education of our children. And this school will lead to many students and children getting that education that's necessary to go forward and prosper in their lives ahead of them. And would like to thank the Development Foundation, the school board, and everybody that to help make this possible here today. So thank you very much for coming out, and let's break some ground.
Great, thank you, Tim. Next up, I'd like to welcome Erica Beck, who's Chief of Staff for Mayor Paul Tenhaken, to share some comments.
Well, thank you, everyone. On behalf of Mayor Paul Tenhaken, my name is Erica Beck, and I'd just like to welcome everyone to the southeast side of Sioux Falls. I actually live just down the road, so I'm pretty excited about this middle school opening up here shortly, and hoping that my 8-year-old, soon 9-year-old, will have an opportunity to attend Ben Reifel. As many people have said already, our kids are the key to our future, and no organization perhaps lives that out more daily than our school district and the school board and all of their team members. This area of Sioux Falls, as all of you know, if you frequent over here, has seen significant growth over the past decade, and with the connection of Veterans Memorial Parkway to Interstate 90 happening in 2020 and the addition of this new middle school, we don't anticipate that growth to slow anytime soon. We are proud to work hand in hand with the Sioux Falls School District to ensure that infrastructure needs to open up this school on time and in a successful way are met and dealt with. So we will be moving forward with the addition of a brand new traffic signal at the corner of 41st and Faith to ensure that traffic flow in and out of the school area is successful. Dr. Maher and school board members, thank you so much for your service to our community and to our kids. We're very happy to partner with you, and we look forward to a ribbon cutting out here soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Erica. And I do just want everyone to know that we are so honored to have with us today several family members of Ben Reifel. And I know we've got 3 right here. If you want to maybe step forward so people can see who you are. And then do I understand that Lorna, are you a family member as well? So what a great tribute. And we are just delighted that you can be here with us to share in this honoring of one of our great Native citizens in South Dakota. So Next up on the agenda, I would like to welcome forward Cynthia Mickelson, who's the new chair of the Sioux Falls School Board, and I think we have several other school board members here as well.
Thank you, Betty. First of all, thank you to Ben Reifel's family member for making the time to come to this groundbreaking. It was really important to me as a board member and the rest of the board to reach out to you and have you participate in today's exciting event. U.S. Representative Ben Reifel is a shining example of why education is important for everyone. He knew how important it was through his attending school, through his attending Harvard, through his work in community service. And today, to honor him, this is just a wonderful example for South Dakota and our Native members of South Dakota. We have been fortunate as a school board in the last 2 months to have 2 major groundbreakings between the high school, Jefferson High School, on the west side, and now the Ben Reifel Middle School here on the southeast side. And we want to thank the community for their support of the $190 million bond, because without that, we wouldn't be able to do that. And the 30-member task force, and I saw Vernon Brown out there, and Nan, who's on that, and our former board president, Kent Alberti, is here in the audience. Thank you for your guidance and support to get us to this day. We hope to see you all back here in about 2 years when we have the ribbon cutting, and good luck and pray for good weather. Thank you very much. Now I'd like to introduce Dr. Brian Maher, our superintendent.
Thank you, Cynthia. Very much appreciated. You know, I have a speech here that Deanne Conrad wrote, and as I was out here, where's Deanne?
Over here.
Thank you very much for your hard work on this. Now I'm not going to use it. And the reason I'm not going to use it is, as I was speaking to the media here, and they asked me this question several different times, and it was, when you think of the groundbreaking here today, what do you think of? And 2 things came to mind. Number 1, progress for our community and progress for our school district. It's just part of the facilities plan. It's the next iteration in what we need to get done for progress. And I think that's clear to see behind us. You've heard so much already, just with the heavy trucks, et cetera, going on, and the progress is undeniable. And then the second thing that came to my mind was courage. And I think about the courage our Board of Education had and the task force had to say, let's ask our community for $190 million. A really easy thing, right? To go out and ask for $190 million. But they had the courage to do that. And then I fast forward to doing what's right for our students. And I think about the symbolism that we'll have in this building, Ben Reifel Middle School. I didn't know who Ben Reifel was until the naming committee said we're going to name the middle school Ben Reifel. And I take no pride in explaining the ignorance that I had. But after looking up Ben Reifel, I thought, what great courage. And then this morning, having an opportunity to spend about an hour with 6 members of his family, that study that I had came to life, and that courage was personalized. I mean, think about somebody who had the courage to enter into an interracial marriage in the 1930s, somebody who had the courage to get on a train and go to South Dakota State University, somebody who had the courage to go to Harvard University, somebody who had the courage to serve his country. And I think in the end what we have is a symbol for our community, and certainly a symbol for the students who will inhabit the middle school, of a great South Dakotan, a great American, and a great Lakotan. What a gift you have given to this community and to the students who will be students in the Ben Reifel Middle School. To the family who went way out of your way to be with us here today, thank you so much for sharing the stories with me and Deanne Conrad this morning. Awesome. That'll be something I cherish forever. And now for something for us all to cherish, we have with us the great niece of Ben Reifel, Laura Hermini Horses, the grandniece of Ben Reifel, who will sing for us the Lakota National Anthem. Lorna.
We are yeha dakula pihe ampokile wala
Tawapa Oki Chize Unianashi Chunkashke Wankap Hekuwa Yankapi We prenap Syria Bina Machbiat Hamazasu Na Probia Bitkahopta Tawapa Helnashi Tawapa Kilehi Nach Kahuka Makoche Kilehi
Wow. Let me tell you, Lorna, if we weren't all standing, we would stand now. That was truly incredible. Thank you so much. And now I'd like to take a moment to bring forward some of the family members of Ben Reifel to make some comments.
All right, so good afternoon and thank you to Megan Jancic, the Development Foundation, the Chamber of Commerce, the Sioux Falls School District Board, to School Board President Cynthia Mickelson, to Mayor Paul Tenhankin, hopefully I pronounced that right, to Dr. Maher, to the Ben Reifel Middle School committee members, the name selection committee, to, I understand, President Barry Dunn from South Dakota State University might be here. And I also want to recognize, as we thank all of you for this tremendous honoring of my grandfather, I'd like to also recognize my family members, Dr. Lucy Reifel, tribal member. Lucy, where are you? Wave. Okay, there's Lucy. And of course, Lorna, you're a tough act to follow. And I'd also like to acknowledge the nephews of Ben and my cousins. I have Marty Johnson to my left here, and his wife Sue. Sue, would you raise your hand? Where are you? Back there. Okay. Marty Johnson and Joe. Sorry, I had that all mixed up. Sorry, Joe. And they're from Seattle. And then Lynn Phelps and his wife Sue. Now I got it right. They're from San Diego. And they are the Johnson side of the family married, Alice Johnson married Ben Reifel in 1935, I think. It's pretty close. 34. Okay. We thank you for this great honor that Sioux Falls School District has bestowed upon my grandfather, Wiaka Wanjila, Ben Reifel. I am, try not to be emotional here.
That's impossible.
I am Lisa Moss, the oldest granddaughter, and this is my sister Valerie Cox, who is the third in line. There are three of us, the only grandchildren of Ben Reifel. And my mother was the only child, Lois Nadine Reifel Anderson. She passed away in September of 2018. She would be so pleased about this groundbreaking. So we, his family, are elated that you have chosen to honor and continue his legacy in this way, naming this future school Ben Reifel Middle School. I believe that his mother, Lucy Burning Breast Reifel, would also be extremely proud of her son at this moment. Because of your choice, young people who will attend this school and their families may come to know about him and the good works he accomplished during his lifetime for the people of South Dakota and for his Lakota people and for other American Indian tribes in the U.S. It is our hope that his legacy will will provide encouragement for others, especially those of humble beginnings. There are many pamphlets and articles and books written about him, including the most recent called Without Reservation, written by Dr. Sean Flynn from the Dakota Wesleyan University. My grandfather is often listed and recognized among American Indian leaders. His name is on the Visitor Center at the Badlands National Park, where he worked with the tribes to secure the concessions there in the national park. And he most recently, a dormitory in Brookings, South Dakota at SDSU bears his name. And now a middle school for which we're breaking ground today will also bear his name, Ben Reifel Middle School. I want to tell you a little about him as a granddaughter and let you know how important and life-changing education was for him, and why I'd be so pleased that all of his living descendants are today, that you are honoring him. God, family, and country and education were his priorities. As many of you know, he came from very humble conditions. He was born in 1906 at Cutmeat on the Rosebud to William Shorty Reifel, a German father, and to Lucy Birdie Breast Reifel, a full-blood traditional Lakota woman. Mother. His, just a little bit about her background. His grandmother, Wawila, was born not long after the Battle of the Little Bighorn and became a Christian. He was greatly influenced by his grandmother who lived with him. Wawila was a member of the Spotted Horses Band of the Lower Brule and belonged to the sub-band of Black Crow and Hollow Horn Bear. He told a story of going out on the prairie with his grandmother to help her dig wild turnips, carrying their lunch in a flour sack, and before they ate, Wawila would give her offering to the four winds. His education, he and his five, Lucy and William Shorty had 5 sons, and Ben was the oldest of those 5 sons. They were born into very poor conditions. They lived in a log house with a sod roof and a dirt floor. My grandfather talked about how the Episcopal missionaries were essential in his life. They provided shoes. He would wear one pair of shoes until his little toes would grow out the ends of his shoes, and then he'd get another pair from the Episcopal missionaries. They also provided the only Christmas he knew. His mother, devoted Christian herself, also would put all 5 boys, or however many she had at the time, to bed early on Saturday. And imagine 5 boys, how they probably didn't enjoy that. But they would go to bed early so she could launder their single set of clothes, and then go to church on Sunday clean. He was proud, grandfather was proud of his Lakota roots and instilled that in us, his grandchildren. His education was rough, starting at about age 5. It was very often tenuous and sketchy until he reached the age of 16, when a teacher named Ethel Krause at Cutmeat helped him complete the 7th and 8th grade at the age of 16. He also said that it helped to have a pool hall nearby, that was a draw. A teacher, so this Ethel Krause was a teacher who recognized his intelligence and potential. My grandfather said that he got the highest marks in Todd County in 8th grade that year. I think that was like somewhere before 1925, so 23 probably. And then he would also remark he was the only 8th grade student in Todd County. This teacher recognized his intelligence and potential. Another significant player in encouraging my grandfather was a Swedish photographer named John Anderson, who ran a hardware store on the Rosebud. Anderson helped him figure out how to continue his education, and along with a superintendent named James McGregor, who helped him figure out the finances from tribal money to get him to fund him to go to Brookings and go to Aggie school. And so in 1925, he left the reservation with the blessings of his mother to continue his education at Aggie school, not with the blessings of his father. German father believed that his son needed to stay and farm. But in 1925, he did that. He left for Brookings despite his father's protest. His mother also encouraged all 5 of those sons to get an education. One of them became a congressman, that being my grandfather. Lucy's father became a medical doctor, as did Lucy. And the other sons became like educators and contractors, architects, crop dusters. My grandfather got off the train in Brookings to attend Aggie school, not knowing that there was such a thing as a taxi. And so when he got off the train, he dragged a trunk, one of those big trunks. You guys know what I'm talking about. He dragged that 17 blocks to his dorm room. He also he didn't know what a toothbrush was, had never seen a toothbrush, had perfect teeth his whole life. So he bravely, courageously came to Brookings to go to Aggie school, and completed Aggie school in 18 months. And then he went on to be accepted at South Dakota State College, and he graduated in 1932 with a BA degree and an emphasis in agriculture, and there's a long list, dairy science, chemistry, to name a few. His goal and purpose originally was to return to the reservation as a college-educated farmer to improve the agricultural practices of his people. He married Alice Johnson, a descendant of Norwegian immigrants from Kingsbury County, and she descended from immigrants and homesteaders in that area, and they were married in December of 1933. She also was college educated. He served in World War II, came back, and after that served as superintendent at Fort Berthold Reservation, North Dakota. He then headed to Harvard and earned a doctorate in public administration. Then he went back to Pine Ridge, where he became the first American Indian superintendent. In 1960, he ran for U.S. Congress and was elected to 5 consecutive terms. He retired in 1971, but was appointed as an advisor for Indian Affairs for the National Park Service. And during that time, he drug his 3 granddaughters everywhere with him. It was so fun. We had a blast. We crawled in and out of kivas and down in Cortez area and toured places, got to go places that many people don't get to. He was appointed Commissioner of Indian Affairs in 1976 by his friend, who was then President Gerald Ford. He often credited and reminded us, his granddaughters, of the significance of his 7th and 8th grade teacher, Ethel Cross, which is why I'm so pleased that this is a middle school. And he often commented on the encouragement of John Anderson, and he spoke fondly and adoringly of his mother, Lucy Burning Breast, as he reflected back on those who made a difference. But what he did for his grandchildren and great-grandchildren later really speaks volumes about how he felt about education, how much he valued education, a rigorous education. Upon my birth and the birth of my sisters, Lori and Valerie, and later my 2 children, Justin and Jamie, he bestowed unconventional baby gifts. He gave us each 5 shares of stock. That stock then divided into 100 shares for me, which I sold in 1976 and went to college. He encouraged, he did the same for my sisters. He encouraged and believed in us. He encouraged and believed in us, made us feel that we could become and achieve anything we put our hearts and minds to. My sisters and I are each college educated because of him and the commitment of my South Dakota parents, who also went to SDSU. There was no discussion of alternatives. In our house, from the moment we were born, it was like the air we breathe. Education is important, and not only is education important, you will go to college, no discussion. And so we all did. That was that important. As a teacher today of 35 years, I try to see the potential in my students and help them see the path to their goals and dreams, like Ethel Krause did for her my almost dropout grandfather, Ben Reifel. My grandfather, Ben, walked very comfortably in two worlds, honoring his Lakota traditional roots, embracing his German American ideals of understanding time, hard work, and serving, and knowing that his education made all the difference, an incredible difference. And he served others through that experience, including his granddaughters. He loved participating in things like Episcopal Convocation on the Rosebud. He loved calling and keeping in contact when he was in Washington with his Lakota friends, often calling them on the phone, and I would sit and listen to him speak to them in Lakota. And he also did very well at rubbing elbows with presidents. And he could go to a state dinner and he knew how to handle all the silver, all the four forks on one side and all the silver on the other. He knew what to do with that. So he walked beautifully in two worlds. That's just a small example. He touched many lives through his lifetime with a commitment of service to others, and he had a way of making others feel like they were significant and important because he was genuinely interested in them. This school will continue that legacy by bearing his name. Final story, in 2015, I took 6 students from Lander Valley High School in Wyoming, where I am from, to Washington, D.C. on a close-up trip. One of my students had to fly in late, and I had to help her make connections. So I helped her get in a taxi from Reagan, the Reagan Airport, and we connected with her group in Washington, D.C. at Lincoln Memorial. And then I had to get to a meeting at the Dirksen building, and I needed another taxi. So I jumped into another taxi, and I'm having a discussion with the taxi driver, who was Ethiopian American, an immigrant from Ethiopia and an American citizen. And he was asking me if I'd ever been to Washington, D.C. before. And I said, oh yeah, I've been here many times, telling him that I was the granddaughter of a former congressman. And I said, he kept pressing me for details. And so I said, oh, it was a long time ago. It was like the 60s and 70s. And he was a congressman from South Dakota. And the taxi driver blurted out, Ben Reifel. And he said everybody knew and respected Ben Reifel, even this taxi driver who I just bumped into in Washington, D.C. in like 2000, what did I say, 15. So again, we thank you for this incredible honoring of my grandfather, Ben Reifel. And may the children of South Dakota grow up to know about him, his legacy, and may their parents also learn about his legacy. Thank you so much. And now I'm going to hand the mic to Marty.
Well, Lisa has covered everything that's really important, so all I'm going to do is add a little humor to things. I like Ben particularly because he would come and stay at our place. I grew up in Brookings, South Dakota. My father taught there for years. And when Ben was campaigning from 1960 to 1970, basically a lot, they would camp out at our place very frequently. They had an apartment in Aberdeen and they had an apartment in Washington, D.C., but they're sort of lodging that they came to because my mother usually baked bread every time Ben came around, so he would come for homemade bread. He would show up quite reliably. But whenever we knew him earlier, he dubbed my brother and I, who always fought like cats and dogs with each other, Bruce was Bruce the Bruiser, and I was Martin the Mauler. And that gives you an idea of sort of the way he approached life. And he also went to South Dakota State University. And yes, she talked about the scholarship that he got from the reservation group. But what he told me is that he really made it through South Dakota State University on pull. Now, to define that for you, he worked for the dairy department, and that was before there were milking machines. So that was the pull that Ben worked on. Now, he did this kind of stuff all the time. He was one of the most, he lit up a room when he came in. All of us talked about that. We said, whoo, he'd come in and just, you sort of were, everybody was happy all the time. And I remember that very clearly. So with that, I'm just going to say that not only was Ben very well educated, and the other thought that I had in terms of the talk is that Ben also had what I call perseverance. A lot of it. And that's what got him anywhere near as far as it did. So with that, I will turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What an incredible story. And we greatly appreciate having you here to share that with us. It's remarkable to hear it from someone who truly knew Ben Reifel. Thank you. Well, we are almost ready to dig some dirt, but before we get that far, I would ask Dr. Maher to come forward. We have something to commemorate today's event for you. This is a commemorative shovel. It's got our date of 7/22/19 to commemorate the groundbreaking today. So, and with that, I think we're ready to dig some dirt. Megan will give us direction.
And there's a hell of a lot of work.
All right, everybody, we could go this way and find a shovel. I'm adding bonus one. Oh, my father-in-law maybe? Yeah. George, so that's not in your mark. Yeah. Yeah. And they grew up in Brickhands.
There's an extra bed.
Okay. Hey, look at that. I can help. This is fun. All right. So we're going to do this twice. I'm going to do one where I'm yelling to take a photo, and then I'm going to do one silently so that the media doesn't have to listen to me. So we're going to do the first one where I yell, the second one we'll do it. So everybody just stand there looking good behind your shovel, please. Shovel on the ground. Yep, keep your shovel on the ground. Just smile big. Everybody looks happy. Alright, and then kind of you all pick it up and hold it. A little dirt on the shovel and just hold nicely. Alright, smile big. Alright, and then on the count of 3, I'm going to have you toss it. Alright? Don't like launch it, please.
We've learned the hard way.
Alright, 1, 2, 3. Woo. lessen your drive.
We're gonna be digging the whole thing.
Yeah, you're just gonna. I thought this was like the groundbreaking one.
All right.